thought I'd do something a little bit different this week. Essentially, like this program is like a reflection on myself and sort of the standards that I live by. And over time, it's like a series of lessons that I've learned over like my 15 years of coaching and working with hundreds of people to get them the results. And it's sort of principles that I personally stand by because they save me a ton of energy, and equally the things that have been created off the back of other people. Each of you might have your own little thing that you've got out of this process already. You're just looking at Sophie; she's only just started, but the kitchen sink method is probably the top thing for her. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not 2,000 calories. That's just a really simple. You know what that is, and that's what I mean by, and that's what this process is about. It's about saving energy, being efficient, and just crafting little strategies to help make this process easier for you to implement, because that's something that's will never leave Sophie. Do you know what I mean? And you know what it is. We haven't told her that she needs to weigh her food and she needs to go to the gym. She knows what that principle is. Okay. And I sat down this morning and I wrote 10 that like really stand out to me. And I was like, oh, I'll share them. Some of them you've probably heard before, or I've said it in like just off the cuff. But if you can take even more into your next week, then it's only going to sort of benefit you. So, lesson one, do what you said you would. That's a huge principle. Do you know what I mean? All of us do that. Like John, when you go to work because you said you go to work, don't you? I mean, it's just a simple standard. If your kids need to pick you up, if you need to pick your kids up, you don't not pick them up. Do you know what I mean? We need to bring that standard into this sort of process. Do what you said you would. If you said you're going to go to the gym at Tuesday or whatever, unless obviously something comes up, like with kids, but do what you said you would. Get yourself there. Don't put it off. Do you know what I mean? And identify the difference between, could I have gone? Well, no, I actually couldn't go because I had to pick my son up. I couldn't leave him. Do you know what I mean? So that's a huge thing. Do what you said you would. Number two, always show up. Okay, and showing up doesn't have to be like Bicep Barry 5 days a week and eating lettuce. I mean, showing up for yourself. You know yourself the difference between the week that you've smashed it and the week that you haven't. Do you know what I mean? Would you agree? Like that, and that's what I mean by showing up. We can turn up to work, or we can turn up to work. So like always show up, give your best. Next, don't bury your head in the sand, because like one day you're gonna have to come up for air. Do you know what I mean? It's the easiest thing for you to do is like just say you can't implement or do certain things that you know need to be doing, is just hide, ignore, and disappear. The messages are going to keep building up and you have to get back to them eventually. And you know you have to get back to the messages, which then wastes more energy. Just don't bury your head in the sand. Close loops and deal with what's open. Next, you can have one bad thing but not two in a row. This is on par with the kitchen sink method. So let's just say Louise had a bad time. She couldn't do X, Y, and Z, and she thought, sod it, I'm just going to have a beer and watch the footy. Fine. Don't do it again. Do you mean? And that's a real, on average, you're going to be going in the right direction. Do you mean, how many times have we pressed the effort button and then it's carried on for weeks? If you're just in your head, like John, really stressful time. I know you've had a stressful time recently with your family, and it's like, well, have a glass of wine, but don't have two in a row. Do you know what I mean? Just get back on track straight away. It's not how many times you fall off the horse, it's how quick you get back on it. Okay, I want you to be very good at falling off. I want you to be a professional horse faller offer. That's a thing. Just made it up. But I don't care if you fall and fail and slip up and whatever. I want you to get very good at getting back on it, because that's the skill there, isn't it? How many times in the past have you fallen off the horse and it's taken months or years? So it's like, it's not how many times you fall off the horse, it's how quick you can get back on it. Next one. If you're ever struggling, sorry, ask yourself, like, what lessons can you learn from it? I mean, this is how we can reframe that narrative. Like, so you never fail, you only learn. If I'm having a bad week or there's something coming up or something's not gone my way or whatever, I'm like, okay, what can I get out of this? Or like, why has that happened? Because then I can make sure it doesn't happen next time. Do you know what I mean? So straight away, we flip the narrative. I mean, so yes, it's a suck. The week sucks, but what can you get out of it? If we live that week again, How could we have behaved a little bit differently? Then it's in your favor straight away then. Next, if you don't know what to do, ask yourself, what's the very next step you could take? Do you mean, let's just say you were in a pitch black room and you walked through a door and you're in a pitch black room and the goal was you had to find the other door. Where would you look? If you didn't know what was in there, you couldn't see anything. You would look at your feet, wouldn't you? And you'd be like, you would make sure you're standing carefully. You'd look at the very next step. You wouldn't look over there because you don't know the door's over there. You also don't know if you're going to walk off a cliff. Focus on the very next step. So if you are ever struggling or you feel like things are really stacked against you, just ask yourself what the very next step you could take is. Do you know what I mean? And that just breaks it down straight away. Next, like what has happened has happened. Okay, so draw a line under it and move on because it's really not worth wasting any energy on it because there's nothing you can do about it. Like I'm really guilty of that. I'm much better right now, but I'm just like, well, it's happened now. What can I do? Is it really serving me moping about it? How many times have you like it goes back to that fuck it button analogy, is it? So, like we slip up and we really dwell on that, so we self-sabotage and we go, does that help? Or we could just focus on the next step and crack on. I mean, so just don't waste energy on it. It's a good way to compartmentalize things. A lot of this is energy saving for the brain because we live in a really overstimulated world and you overthink. Next, what's the real issue? Okay, so I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. How many times have you overreacted massively for something that's so small? Like you drop a fork and it's like, you flip the table, you throw the drink, you scream. Do you mean? Like, what is the real issue? Is it because of what has just happened in that moment? Or is it because you've not done what you said you would? Okay. Often we put our own pitfalls onto other things, justify our behavior. Okay. So just take some ownership, okay, for your actions or just to make you feel in a little bit more control. I know sometimes if I haven't been able to do the stuff, I might be a little bit short with Polly. It's not Polly's fault. I mean, it's actually because I haven't done the thing that I said I would. So just like, what is the actual issue? And just like zoom out and think about it. Again, a great way to save energy. Last but not least, don't eat yellow snow. I'm joking. I'm joking. I just put that in just for a joke. It's a free bonus joke for you. If you were to live today, over and over again, would it move you closer to your goal and further away from where you want it to be? Like, I love this one because it really gets you to think about your actions on a micro scale. Like how many of us are looking at our goal now and thinking, that's so far away. Do you know what I mean? To the point where you waste energy and we just don't think we can do it. But if you just focus on today as a little bit of a pocket focus and you live that again and again and again, would it get you there? If the answer is no, okay, then realize then tomorrow you can do something about it. So just tweak the thing that happened today and focus on repeating that again and again and again, and obviously getting it better. But it's just a good way for you to break things down a little bit more rather than focusing on the top of the mountain. You're like, okay, what can I do tomorrow? And I do this all the time in your reflection posts, don't I? It's like, what can we do tomorrow? Like if today didn't work, what can you do tomorrow? If you slipped up on your nutrition or maybe you've been skipping those workouts, tomorrow get the workout in. If you did that again and again and again for the next 20 years, you'd be there easily. Do you know what I mean? So there are 10 little mindset things to get you thinking a little bit differently. Which ones have resonated you? What would you say the 1 to 3 maybe that have resonated with you that you're going to take into this coming week?